David Brooks this weekend also talked about the Republicans in the New York Times. David Brooks, by the way, no fan of the president. He is he's been more critical of President Obama than he has been flattering. He took to task some of the president's greatest moments, his speeches in Cairo and Berlin. He has taken to task the stimulus package. In any case, David Brooks was in the New York Times this weekend. This was on Sunday, and this is what David Brooks said. He actually used the word intransigent, but I know the word too. He said the GOP may no longer be a normal party, quote, but rather a movement of fanatics with a sacred fixation on tax cuts. And we're going to listen to this. We're going to see this. We're going to hear Paul Ryan, the congressman from Wisconsin, respond to this. Rather, a movement of fanatics with a sacred fixation on tax cuts. Brooks slammed the GOP for rejecting what he called a no-brainer compromise with Democrats. So the compromise, which would include closing tax loopholes, and as the famous corporate jet loophole that they're talking about, but Brooks continues, on the contrary, Republicans are merely being asked to close loopholes and eliminate tax expenditures that are themselves distortionary. This, as I say, is the mother of all no-brainers, and I'm speaking for David Brooks. But we can have no confidence that the Republicans will seize this opportunity. That's because the Republican Party may no longer be a normal party. This is David Brooks, more of a Republican than a Democrat, likes to see himself as an independent, but he takes the side against this president more often than not. Over the past few years, it has been infected by a faction that is more of a psychological protest than a practical governing alternative. I think that sentence is so erudite. It's so true. More of a psychological protest than a practical governing alternative. It used to be that they were a governing alternative, that they did have some ideas. They had some good ideas. Whether you disagreed with them or not, you could see the soundness of those arguments. Now the soundness is gone. They are not listening. The sound is gone to them, actually. They are not listening. But let's listen to what Paul Ryan, and this will be illustrative of that. Let's see what Paul Ryan says. Clip number 2.
I want you to respond to this if you could, Congressman. The party is not being asked to raise marginal tax rates in a way that might pervert incentives. On the contrary, Republicans are merely being asked to close loopholes and eliminate tax expenditures that are themselves distortionary. If the Republican Party were a normal party, it would take advantage of this amazing moment.
Okay,
it's being offered the deal of the century. David Brooks,
sounds like
New York
a column
Times.
I read in the New York Times.
Yeah, David Brooks.
Yeah,
your response.
Right. So what happens if you do what he's saying is then you can't lower tax rates. So it does affect marginal tax rates. In order to lower marginal tax rates, you have to take away those loopholes so you can lower those tax rates if you want to do what we call being revenue neutral. Our budget calls for revenue neutral tax reform. If you take a deal like that, you're necessarily requiring tax rates to be higher for everybody. You need to lower tax rates by going after tax loopholes. If you take away the tax loopholes without lowering tax rates, then you deny Congress the ability to lower everybody's tax rates, and you keep people's tax rates high.
Well, you know, Paul Ryan allegedly knows a lot more about this than I do. He's a congressman from Wisconsin. He's on the Budget Committee. He chairs it. But, you know, he sounds like a moron here. He's talking about holding on to these loopholes, keeping them in place till he can use them at a better time to lower taxes. He'll say, okay, we'll cut that loophole out, but the revenue that we save, we want to push into tax cuts. So we don't want to do anything. Talking about being revenue neutral here, that revenue neutral is one of these sort of euphemisms for we don't want to raise taxes. But revenue neutrality is not of any moment here. We have a debt ceiling that needs to be increased. We have to get that done in order to pay our bills. So you can talk about preserving your loopholes as much as you want. You sound like an idiot talking about preserving this loophole that allows corporate jet owners to escape a tax. Because what you're doing is you're essentially holding it hostage or saving it for a time when you can better show that getting rid of this loophole will be helpful. You know, read into it a little bit. They want to use it to be able to help another president of another party down the road, not to do it right now. You heard Mitch McConnell last week talking about supporting things that if there were a Republican president, he might support other things. This is the same thing. This is Paul Ryan holding the loopholes hostage for a time when he would better use it.